What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the NerdBall Fantasy Football Show. I am your humble host, Pete Rogers, and I am joined by my fellow nerds, resident old man Clark Barnes, and the working girl Jordan Smith. Guys, how are we doing this fabulous week before actual real season mattering football begins?
Doing great, Pete.
I can't wait for tonight if you're listening to this on Thursday, or tomorrow if you're a late night boy and you're getting on the podcast. Plus we got a great Thursday night game. We don't get good Thursday night games, so that's my love for the week is Thursday night game.
It's just starting off the season right. And we're going to start the podcast off right, as Jordan already has done. We're going to do our loves and hates for the week. We'll start with our McLovin love of the week. Jordan, do you want to elaborate on the Thursday night football, or are you just your pure thought of Thursday night good football is all that is carrying you?
Well, basically is we got Buffalo, who is basically the projected favorite across a lot of different media outlets. And then you have the last Super Bowl champ. And when you look at both of these rosters, they're just absolutely stacked with guys that you will definitely be playing this week. So it's like you get a good blend of watching both teams. Possibly you have somebody playing on either side. That way you're just never sitting there bored waiting for them to get on offense, or waiting if you're ever going to score more points because the offense isn't getting the ball back. That is a terrible one for me. But yeah, I'm just excited to have a good game on Thursday night, and they're not making us watch Jets versus Titans or something. Just something random.
It's just like, hey, NFL, maybe do this more regularly so that we don't all have to celebrate when there's a good Thursday night game on. Maybe we should always have good games on Thursday night. Maybe you should put your premier games on the standalone days in which we have games.
Yeah, there are going to be some giant reveals for us that we've been arguing about all off season. We're going to see Cam Akers, Darrell Henderson split. Does Cam Akers look good? After having another 6-7 months to rehab his leg after that gruesome injury. We're going to see the James Cook reveal. I've been going back and watching a lot of games from last year because I'm so bored and I'm ready to have football start. But this isn't news, but the Bills really want to deploy their running back as a pass catcher out of the backfield, and they do it with Devin Singletary all the time. They just don't throw the ball because when they do, it's not great. And so we'll see if Cook is going to get 30, 40, 50% of the snaps. I'm super excited about that. And then, like you said, tons of stuff on the defensive side of the ball for both of these teams. It's going to be a spicy kickoff.
Yes, it is. And if you don't,
without power too. Good job, California. Yeah.
That
would no matter who, baby.
Yeah, that would be an exciting game to just have. We already had it in the Super Bowl. If you don't have, if you're not able to root for either team in your fantasy league because you don't have anyone on the Rams or on the Bills, first of all, maybe you should have drafted someone from these teams. Probably going to be the top 3 offenses in the league. But you can also always pick whatever team you want to, or pick whatever players you want in DFS, and make sure to check out Skylar Carlin writes for NerdBallFF.com. He has his weekly DraftKings showdown for week 1 picks for Bills at Rams, and he helps you pick who you should have as your captain and who you should have in your flex spot. So make sure you go check that out at NerdBallFF.com if you're going to partake in some Thursday night DFS, which everyone should be doing because you just haven't had even an ounce to fill your NFL fix. If you're not just hankering for all kinds of fantasy at this point, turn off this podcast and then turn it on again, because don't worry, we also talk about other things that aren't just fantasy football related. In the same vein, Jordan, my love for this week is, again, looking forward to this coming week. I know the NFL is just like a perfectly scripted reality show. Loving the fact that we get 2 big time revenge games this week. We get Baker Mayfield versus the Browns and Russell Wilson versus the Seahawks. I'm just very excited to see both of these quarterbacks. Russell Wilson, who maybe isn't notoriously a grudge holder, but you got to think the guy's going to give it his all to is he a notorious grudge holder, Clark?
Russell Wilson is a notorious low-key grudge holder. Cecil Lamian has a story about asking him how he's going to like backing up Tim Tebow in Denver, and I believe that Russell has still never let it go. So I'm not as outward as my boy Aaron Rodgers, but yeah, he's got a little chip on his little shoulder.
And we all know Baker literally thrives on any kind of hate that he can manufacture. So both of these quarterbacks, it's the excitement of football being back is one thing, and then having football be back with like a great Thursday night game, these two like quarterback matchups where you're just like, would I be watching Panthers Browns week 1 otherwise? Hell no. But I will be tuning in if I can, because I just want to see Baker try to do his best to dismantle the Browns and show him that he was the right quarterback to stay with rather than Jacoby Brissett, because that's who their starting quarterback is for 11 games.
Yeah, this should be a good one. A lot of very interesting players on both teams that are probably not going to be, the teams themselves probably not going to factor into the playoff hunt near the end of the year, but a lot of good fantasy questions. And yeah, I mean, Sam Darnold versus Jacoby Brissett. I mean, it's Sam Darnold versus Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, really.
It's Baker Mayfield. Is Baker Mayfield not playing?
Oh, Baker Mayfield. Sorry.
Okay.
Wrong name. Thanks.
Give me a heart attack there. My whole love would have been dismantled in front of me. Yeah, I'm very excited for Geno Smith to throw like 5 bombs to DK Metcalf, connecting on 3 of them, and then everyone's like, "Oh shit, DK Metcalf still a wide receiver 1 with Geno Smith," and then that's gonna last all of a week. But I'm here for it. Give it to me. Give me all the football. Clark, do you have a love for going into this week?
Yeah, mine's a good old rivalry from the NFC South. We've got the Saints going to the Falcons. Again, just tons of questions that we've been asking all offseason. I think if you have a Saint on your team, you should start them. I think they're going to absolutely punish the Falcons for being bad. These rivalries in the NFL are kind of funny. I think the fans probably take them more seriously than the players do, but there seems to always be a lot of bad blood in these games. So everyone on the Saints is a start, probably even second running back, not Alvin Kamara.
Mark Ingram.
Probably Mark Ingram. Yeah. Jameis is going to let it fly. And then, Kyle Pitts on the other side. Yeah. So my love of the week is the Falcons versus the Saints this weekend.
Yeah. And Patty Cooper in his NEF projections for 2022 have the Falcons as the worst defense per his rankings. He's projecting them to have the worst defense this year. So fire up all your
That may be a little optimistic.
And that may be good. That might be rating them too high. There is the new website, the 33rd team. So now there are 33 teams in the NFL. So maybe the Falcons will have the 33rd worst defense, and the 33rd team will be, since they're bringing literally any player. It's like when the Athletic was hiring, and like the Athletic was like, this person joined the Athletic, this person joined the Athletic. I feel like any retired NFL player is joining 33rd team. So they could probably start a decent NFL roster. We'll keep track and see how well they can do. Probably beat the Falcons. I have hates because I am a negative person and I enjoy being negative. My hate for this week, my Boris Krishnoko hate of the week, because we all hate a backstabbing Russian hacker from GoldenEye. 538, notorious for correctly guessing the American U.S. presidential election, gave their quarterback rankings today. And let me just read to you. Have you guys seen these rankings? No,
I have not.
You have not. Okay. I'm just going to read the top 5, and you just tell me what you think. Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Deshaun Watson. Is it terrible? No. Maybe there's some wiggle room there, but not terrible. So let's move down. Justin Herbert, Matthew Stafford, Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray. That's your 6 through 10. Now let's get saucy. Let's just throw some oil on a hot frying pan and see what happens. Joe Burrow, 11. Mitchell Trubisky, number 12. Russell Wilson, number 13. Lamar Jackson, 14. Jalen Hurts, 15. Really? Is that what we're doing here? Gardner Minshew, they have as their QB 18, above Derek Carr, Mac Jones, Ryan Tannehill. Colt McCoy, Nick Foles are above Tua Tagovailoa. Jimmy G is down at 28, which, that's fine with me. But these rankings are all over the place. Marcus Mariota is the 41st quarterback in the league. I didn't even know I had a strong Mariota take, but clearly I do. Trevor Lawrence, quarterback 45. Clark loves to hear it. Clark loves to see the Jaguars pick the 45 best quarterback in the NFL, according to 538 in the first overall pick. Yeah, so Mitchell Trubisky, really my beef is Mitchell Trubisky being ranked the 12th best quarterback in the NFL right now. So well done. Well done, everyone at 538. I'm glad you are moving past your reputation for not knowing what the hell you're doing.
I'm looking at this list and I'm like literally just aghast that they have some backups in like the top. Like some of them definitely, like obviously Geno Smith, because guess what? He's a starter now, even though we all know he's a backup. But like
Geno Smith, Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is like they have as a top 20 quarterback in the NFL.
I'm not trying to be a Carson Wentz apologist, but he's better than 34th. He's still at least a starting quarterback in the league. Even if he's 32nd, he's still a starting quarterback.
Well,
that's 33rd. One I have qualms with.
There are 33 teams now.
I also have an issue with a quarterback who hasn't played in like 18 months, being number 5, and Kirk Cousins being in the top 10 when Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson are behind him. Curious. Feels
racist.
These are meant to spark outrage and engagement. So they were successful.
Yes. They did their job. And Clark is a bigger man than I and is able to not let the hate fester through him. But I can't. When I see terrible rankings, that enrages me to the point where I create a segment on the podcast so that I can fume. That's what this whole segment's here for. Jordan, do you have anything to hate on this week?
Yeah, my hate is that we are approaching Lamar Jackson's self-imposed week 1 contract deadline. And I don't think it will get to the point where he's just not going to play on Sunday, but I'm a little worried he might not play on Sunday. Like he's representing himself in this situation. So it's really kind of hard. Like you're not getting these like agent leaks or like like Shefty and Rappaport aren't really reporting on the contract negotiations other than to say they're ongoing. They're not really giving us any sort of like, here's how Lamar feels about it, other than him being on Twitter and being like, pay me. So I don't know how intense that is. Yeah, he's been a hold in, so he's been like at practice and stuff. If he was a holdout, I'd be like, prepare your backups. But yeah, I just hate the uncertainty. I think he'll play, but I hate the uncertainty.
Jordan is sweating because in like 15 of his 15 leagues, he has Lamar Jackson. He's trying to figure out whether or not he needs to be attacking that waiver wire.
I'm in 4 fantasy football leagues, 1 redraft, 3 dynasties. I have Lamar Jackson in all 4. 1 dynasty, I traded Kyler Murray for Lamar, like straight up, because I just wanted Lamar, even though they basically are producing the same stat line.
Gotta stay on brand.
I don't have a bias towards Lamar. What are you talking about?
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, there's an easy solution here, Ravens. Pay the man. Like what I'm a little unsure as to like what we're dragging our feet about. Like he's an MVP quarterback who is one of the best.
I haven't looked at their cap. Yeah, I haven't looked at their cap situation, but I'm curious who is who's commanding the most money on that team right now, because I don't even know.
Let's see. I'm bringing up Spotrac right now.
Marlon Humphrey, like, is it a defensive player? I don't
know. Let's look at cap hit. Well, Lamar has the biggest cap hit because he's on the last year of his deal. / is he tagged?
No, he's on the. I think he only has No, he's on the last year of his deal. He would play this out. I don't think it's a team option though, because he was the 32nd pick.
And then Marcus Peters is second biggest cap
Maybe it
hit.
is
15 mil, 15.5 mil. Ronley Stanley 3, Marlon Humphreys, Mark Andrews, Justin Tucker, best kicker in NFL history, counts for 2.3% of the Ravens cap.
Yeah, Ravens, just pay him, because in like a couple months it's going to be a
the cap is going to get bigger. You're going to have Justin Herbert becoming Joe Burrow's going to become a free agent. Like all of these, the quarterback market is about to explode to the point where it's like sign Lamar to whatever he wants, and you're going to look like you're getting a bargain in 5 years. So that's the way it works.
It's fucking Deshaun Watson ruined more than just the salary cap for teams.
Yes, he ruined many things. Clark, have you joined the pool of hate that we fester in?
I have a football related hate because it's going to mess up a lot of my takes for this summer, and it's 1 week and I don't care. The Patriots versus the Dolphins have been incredibly low scoring affairs for the past couple of years, and I expect for that to happen again. So all of the Tua haters will see, look, even though the Dolphins won, it was 13-8 and Tua didn't look good. So just really not looking forward to that. I am looking forward to seeing if the Patriots in live game action look as bad as all of the beat writers have said that they're going to look this year, under the brain trust of Patricia as not offensive coordinator. So that's going to be a fun one, but that's my hate. I hate that the Dolphins are opening against the Patriots.
Yeah, I feel like I'd like to petition that offensive coordinator Matt Patricia from here on shall only be referred to as Pat Matricia. It just feels like what he should be called. That is his offensive coordinator name. Yeah, it does. I was trying to find, I forgot who tweeted, and I was trying to look it up while maybe it was Warren Sharp football. Someone tweeted about Tua's deep passing with, oh my God, I need to find this because it was a flaming hot take about, do you remember what it was?
Is it a positive take about Tua's
it's a positive take about Tua's ability to throw the ball down the field.
He does have a beautiful deep ball, so
he does, and he's got one of the best deep receivers in the history of okay, I'm not going to find this tweet. Damn it! I need to start saving tweets.
Lamar Jackson has a beautiful deep ball too.
You're damn right he does. But you know who's got a stronger arm than Lamar Jackson, according to Madden? Fucking, I don't even remember.
Sam Howell.
Sam Howell. God.
He's number 5. He was the 5th one.
Oh my God, what a trash.
We laugh now, but when Sam Howell starts after the bye week in Washington,
when Sam Howell
be eating
throws a 90-yard touchdown with 80 yards of that coming through the air, then I will tell you, I will apologize to Madden personally for giving them endless shit for that. Okay, well, there you go. Those was our loves and our hates for the week. And now that Week 1 has officially started and fantasy football is here, we are going to introduce a segment in which we give our must-starts for the week. I have not thought of a fun, saucy, nerd-related title for it. I don't know if you've noticed, most of these segments have nerd-related titles to it because we're a NerdBall podcast. It's on brand. You guys get it. I'll think of something for must-starts. Anywho's, must-starts, these are guys who we obviously are going to bat for this week in terms of their fantasy production. Jordan, start us off. Who is a player who you think is a must-start this week in fantasy week 1?
So we talked about this a little bit off pod in that week 1's kind of a tough one to know who you're going to march out there. Usually for me, I'm just like, I'm going to pick who I think are my best guys and just go with it, or who I drafted first, basically. But I still think that Robert Woods, Mr. Bob Trees, is still kind of a sneaky must start. I don't think people are giving him a lot of credit for being at least a decent wide receiver 2 that you could play this week, maybe even a flex position if you're getting a last minute, like, hey, this person isn't suiting up, or maybe like a Chris Godwin situation where you're unsure if he's actually going to or when he's actually going to play. But Woods is definitely the unquestioned number one in Tennessee. The Athletic has reported that Tannehill and him have developed some pretty quick chemistry prior to last season. So Robert Woods only played 9 games last year. Can't knock him too much for that. He got injured. He was like wide receiver 53 or something like that. Barely played with Matt Stafford. But in the seasons before that, when he played with Jared Goff, Woods was wide receiver 31, 11, 14, and 13 in PPR. So the talent is there. And now he has a better quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is better than Jared Goff. Tennessee plays the Giants this weekend.
Love it.
I know Patty had Atlanta as the worst defense. I looked at by DVOA their projections. Atlanta does have the second, or is projected to have the second worst defense by DVOA at the end of the season. But the New York Giants are first for them by a pretty wide margin too. The odds of them getting the number 1 pick is pretty significant. I think it's like it looks to be about 3 times that of anybody else's. So to bring it back to Tennessee, they got to throw to someone. Westbrook Akina, he got some tick last year. He was fine. He's not somebody who's going to win you a league. And he's also just not their main target. The up and down reports too on Treylon Burks just make me a little bit skeptical that he's going to come in and just eat right away in week 1. They have Austin Hooper, I guess, but like, sure.
Clark loves starting no-name tight ends in fantasy.
I mean, he might do better than
something.
Jonnu Smith, who was really excellent. He wasn't very good in Cleveland when he was there. So I'm just looking at Robert Woods in a situation where when stuff starts to get rough, I think they're just going to turn to who is their best player on the field to catch passes. And I think Robert Woods is that player.
Yeah. I love this pick. I mean, we talked about on the shows prior to draft season, we talked about Robert Woods being like a really great sleeper target in fantasy because of the fact that like he is the wide receiver 1 in Tennessee. I think that maybe Treylon Burks comes in and does eventually take over some sort of, but like through the first at least 4 weeks of the season, Robert Woods is going to see a pretty hefty target share, in my opinion. He is a professional who is a veteran in the league, who's going to come in. And I feel like he's just very quickly going to be acclimated to this offense and produce because we've seen him produce. And starting off the week against the Giants, it's a no-brainer. The Giants, Patty has them ranked as his 20, or he's projected them to be his 25th ranked defense. They're bad. They're really, really bad. And the Titans are going to take advantage of that. I'm sure we're going to see a very healthy dose of Derrick Henry. But when they pass it through the air, I would not be surprised that the vast majority of looks go Robert Woods' way. And I feel like we'll probably finish up as a pretty easy wide receiver too. Clark, if you have thoughts, go ahead. I was going to check and see where Nick has him ranked this week and his wide receiver rankings.
I love Woods. He was a late target for me. I generally like to go tight end early. Don't mind going quarterback early if it's one of the studs. So you're looking for that last guy, and Woods was that guy a lot for me this year. I don't think it's going to be spectacular, but I think we're going to see a lot of lines of like 6 for 85 and maybe 5 touchdowns for the year. And that's the good flex start.
Yeah. Yep. I like it. My start for this week is a guy. Jordan was trying to help all of you fantasy managers out there by picking someone who might be sitting on your bench this week. I fully admit Gabe Davis, if you drafted him to be your wide receiver 2, or even maybe, dare I say, your wide receiver 1, if you were like, I don't know, went RB with your first 4 picks and then drafted a quarterback and then a tight end. I don't know. Who knows what crazy roster constructions out there.
Are you taking shots at me because I showed you my redraft?
If you drafted Gabe Davis, you believe in Gabe Davis more than that the earth is round.
Yes. Regardless, Gabe Davis, you invested high in him, you're going to play him. The Rams last year allowed the 10th most fantasy points to wide receivers out wide last year. And that's obviously where Gabe Davis operates. He's coming off of one of the best playoff performances in NFL history, where he caught, it was like 200 plus yards and 4 touchdowns or something absurd, some insane stat line against the Chiefs. we talked about how good this game is going to be. This game is going to be a shootout. Allen's probably, he's the wide receiver 2 in Buffalo now. Emmanuel Sanders is gone, retired. Good career, Emmanuel Sanders. Well done. Cole Beasley is gone. Huge target share opened up in Buffalo. And Stephon Diggs, we're going against the Rams. Probably going to see a fair amount of Jalen Ramsey when possible, which could force Allen to look elsewhere. We're looking at Dawson Knox, who just got a nice big boy contract. We're looking at Gabe Davis. I am confidently starting Gabe Davis this week, and he's my must play. Really, really starting off the year on a limb here, you guys.
Going out on a limb. I like Gabe Davis. I think that he's just a competent NFL wide receiver, but he's the number 2 wide receiver on a team without a ton of options in the receiving game, who is one of the most prolific passing teams in the NFL. Yeah, I like it. The Ramsey nugget is good too. I don't think anybody can really lock down Diggs with the rules that we have in the league now. But Ramsey is one of those guys that if anybody can, he's in the conversation. So.
And it's also another thing too, where it's like maybe Stephon Diggs still gets 5 catches for 80 yards, but maybe he doesn't see 13 targets. Maybe he sees 7 targets, and instead of Josh Allen really honing in on Stephon Diggs, he's looking elsewhere, and Gabe Davis will profit from that. Yes. Clark, who's your must start this week?
Yeah, so Jordan covered it and you echoed it. It's hard to find a must start early in the year because people just drafted. They're playing who they drafted. So I picked a DST, and this is going to be a theme, I think, unfortunately for the year, Steelers fans. The Steelers are playing the Bengals. I don't think Bengals defense is fantastic, but the Steelers are going to be starting Mitchell Trubisky and have perhaps the worst offensive line in the NFL. It's going to be ugly for weeks and weeks, and then it's going to be ugly when Kenny Pickett takes over too. So if you're going to stream a defense, I think the Bengals are a good week just because the Steelers offensive line is absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, I feel like Becca just had her draft for her work. She had a fantasy draft there, and her team looks really good. I'm very proud of her for drafting without my input. But I did have to comment that her top 2 running backs are Joe Mixon and Najee Harris, which is like, if they hit, that's great. You're like locked and loaded, but they are like the two of the top, 10 backs that I was the least invested in this year. But here's to hoping that the Steelers offensive line can do something productive so that Najee Harris can have a good season. And we can see this passing game, because there's so many weapons in this passing game that we would love to see actually flourish. I mean, Deontay Johnson had a big year last year, but simply because he saw like 190 targets. Chase Claypool, let's give me some of a rookie year Chase Claypool, please and thank you. And then obviously George Pickens flashed in the preseason. So good old 13th best quarterback overall, Mitchell Trubisky. Sorry, 12th best quarterback. Russell Wilson is QB 13. I apologize for not remembering how good Mitchell Trubisky truly is at playing football.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is currently projected from Football Outsiders to be number 1 in defensive DVOA, which is pretty decent. They're ahead of guys like New Orleans, Chargers, the Bills, the Rams, just a bunch of other teams that have some pretty significant blue chip players. Shout out to the gambling podcasts out there. And I'm not saying the Bengals are going to be bad this year, because I think they'll still be good. They have enough talent to be good. But did you know that like the last, I think 8 out of 10 teams that lost the Super Bowl won under 9 games?
We talked about
the
best.
What's that?
I was saying we talked about this on last week's show, where it's like, is everyone like too high on the Bengals? Like, are we overlooking this Super Bowl hangover? Because it's real. As someone who has learned that that hangovers are crippling for me now that I'm an old man, hangovers are real, you guys.
It's either that Super Bowl hangovers are real, or Bill Belichick has crushed a lot of spirits that it just holds over for the next season.
Bill Belichick
wasn't involved in this trauma this time, so maybe they'll get let off the hook, but I don't know.
Belichick is Archer famously, who's just so cumulatively drunk that if he stopped drinking, the hangover would kill him. That's how Bill Belichick doesn't get a Super Bowl hangover. Quickly want to throw out another guy who I like this week. We talked about how the Patriots Dolphins game is probably going to be boring as hell, but the Patriots still employ a whole bunch of big, slow linebackers. So I feel like Chase Edmonds probably a pretty safe bet to get you some good production, especially if you're playing a PPR.
If you drafted Chase Edmonds, you better start him because you're only going to have 3 or 4 games with him. Like, he's good, but he's little, so you better. Is that because
the Dolphins are going to trade a 2nd round pick to get Sony Michel back on their roster?
I think it's just going to be attrition. I mean,
yeah,
Jerick McKinnon, Kenyon Drake, maybe not Kenyon Drake, but like all these guys who are like, oh, they flash, they look so good. It's like, yeah, they look really good because they're very small and they're very fast. Yeah. So that works until someone who's 260 pounds and who's just a little bit slower than you hits you super hard. And then,
Well, luckily the Patriots don't have anyone in their front 7 who's fast enough to run with Chase Edmonds.
They probably don't have anyone as light as 260 pounds either. Like until the secondary.
Yeah.
Maybe they won't have to because they'll just run the ball and throw it 4 times again to like some sort of weird point that they don't have to throw the ball.
Yeah.
The Patriots, that is.
They're gonna try to just run, which is why your boy loves Ramondre Stevenson this year.
Mike McDaniel with another great quote about the disparity of wins between he and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I saw that.
And what may possibly happen if he loses this game. It's like, well, then we'll play week 2.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, guys, it's not life and death. This is a stupid kids game. Like, it's okay.
Mac Wilson.
Well, it's not stupid. It's a kids game.
Mac Wilson, 233, according to ESPN, one of the Patriots linebackers. So,
oh wow,
that's pretty light.
That sounds like special teams ace.
Juwan Bentley starting a good 255, and but maybe Mac Wilson can maybe stick with. No, that's not happening. All right, well, there you go. There's some must starts for this for your NFL Week 1 fantasy. And before we go, it's time to wrap it up with a good old top 10 from your boy. It is the start of the NFL season, and with that means everyone's going to be sitting around on their couches watching football throughout all of Sunday. And in order to help make that as enjoyable as possible for you, I have decided to rank my top 10 game day snacks so that you can be fully prepared to enjoy football properly. These rankings are 100% correct. I have spent 31 years perfecting this list. This is not a list that I threw together 15 minutes before the podcast because it was a rough day with the twins and I didn't have time to prepare until they went to bed.
That's not how we do things here.
Not how we do things. This is 31 years of research that went into this top 10 list. So we're going to start off with number 10, buffalo wings. Not a fan of buffalo wings, but it feels like that they need to be on this list. First of all, there's just never enough chicken. Like, you need to eat like 30 wings in order to actually feel satiated, but people swear by them. So sure, we'll put them on as number 10. Number 9. Oh, you have takes on buffalo
I thought we were
wings?
going to do like 8 minutes on each thing. Is that not right? Okay.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You got buffalo wings for 8 minutes.
Buffalo wings are good, but the disparity in the quality of the wing is immense. So if you go to the store and buy some good wings and then you make them and you cook them yourself and you know how to do it, perhaps one of the best foods known to man. But if you're ordering from Pizza Hut or Domino's and you order wings from them, they are, unless you're just getting something to give to the dog, why even bother? So, they're messy. They're usually not very good unless you know you're going into a good wing situation. So I like that you have them at 10 here.
Thanks, Clark. Thank
you. Keto friendly. So
yeah.
I can't believe you just 538'd these food rankings by putting wings at number 10. Is it specifically buffalo wings? Because that I can understand. I like to have a little bit of variety in my wing flavor.
Sure. I have
just wings.
I only have wings once on this list, and it's buffalo wings. But if you, I'm just the whole wings don't make sense to me. I'm sorry, people. If you want chicken, eat a damn chicken breast or leg like a man. Don't nibble on a wing like a squirrel.
I want all the drums, all the flats, I want lemon pepper.
Yes.
Dry rub, lemon pepper wet. I
Yes.
want honey barbecue, Parmesan garlic. I want all of those flavors of wings. I'll go to Wingstop. There's this place here in Madison called Wings Over. Shout out to them. Love their wings. I'll even throw some wings in the slow cooker and get those going. They just fall right off the bone. Nice. So freaking good. I'm a big fan of wings. They might be my staple, like the center of the game day snacks for me. Everything else is just dressing.
This might be the end of the podcast.
There you go. There's 8 minutes on wings. We did it.
Very strong feelings about wings, I guess.
Jordan brings up a really good point, and that is, if any brand, any restaurant, any type of food that I mentioned on this list that wants to move up this list, I am fully susceptible to bribes. So please, you can sponsor us, pay us, and you will instantly get published and publicity as the number one game day snack in my top 10. So just throwing that out there for anyone. Buffalo wings, you're going to have to work really hard and pay me a lot of money to move up on my list. Number 9, Totino's pizza rolls. The only reason they're on this list is because SNL made a skit with Kristen Stewart, and it was probably the single greatest skit in SNL history. If you haven't seen it, go search Totino Pizza Rolls SNL. It will make you laugh. It'll make you cry. It will make you feel things that you've never felt before. A+ skit, C+ food. That's why they're at 9.
Pizza rolls as an adult are one of those meals that you eat when your wife goes out of town.
100%.
When there's no one in the house. You know, this is not a meal that you want to eat in front of other people. You usually do it when you're depressed. You definitely cover them in ranch. And so recently I did this, and I forgot how bad it makes you feel. I've been having a very hard time digestively over the past few days.
They're also one of the classic things where you cook them in the oven at 400 for 30 minutes, and then you take a bite and it just burns the inside of your mouth and you can't taste anything for 10 hours. Because it takes a year for them to cool down and you're way too hungry because inevitably you made them too late, you're starving, and you just eat as many as you can, and then your mouth's on fire.
See, what you need to do, number 11 on this list, I'm going to take this list, add a number 11. It's just going to be like popping an edible in the morning and then just going to town on pizza rolls, because that's when I eat them. If I'm feeling a little good, and I'm getting a little munchy.
But it is pizza rolls for days.
Ranch with pizza rolls too, along with the wings. Just make sure you have ranch. That's number 12. Ranch.
That's number 12. Wow. This list is getting hijacked before we've even made it out of 9. Number 8, puppy chow. Delicious, excellent to snack on. It can be go a little overboard if you have too much, but puppy chow, number 8. I feel like no one's going to have hot takes on puppy chow, so we're going to move on to number 7. Number 7, this takes time, this takes effort, but if you do it right, it is absolutely worth it. The only reason why it's down here at 7 is because of the time and effort and forethought that needs to go into it, but that's pulled pork sliders. Put that shit in a slow cooker, you get a bunch of good marinade and good spices. You put some barbecue sauce on that. It's messy, but it's a good kind of messy. It's decadent, delicious. Pulled pork sliders coming in at number 7 in my top 10 game day snacks.
Pete, that's a good one, and that's an easy one. You just put the pork butt in the crock pot. I mean, you gotta, you do it the night before or later. You pour some Sweet Baby Ray's on it.
But the effort is minimal. The time commitment is 24 hours. Yeah. So if you remember, I mean, honestly, what you do is you do it right before college football starts on Saturday. Then you're ready for Sunday.
You wake up, noon block games are about to start, crack a beer. It smells like pulled pork in your house, apartment, abode. Great. Love
Perfect. It. Perfect. Open the George Foreman, lay down some bacon, go back to sleep, wake up to the smell of bacon. A+ all around. Number 6, nachos. Super easy to make and super delicious because you can put whatever the hell you want on it. That is my absolute favorite thing about nachos. Don't worry, there you get even more. We get more. This list is already getting so good.
Are we segregating chips and queso from nachos, or is that all the same thing?
I would We can count that as the same thing.
Okay, well then your list is stupid. Chips and
Okay,
queso
it's
is number
totally
one.
different things.
Okay.
Nachos at 6. The beauty of this is all you need is chips, cheese. At the bare minimum, you throw it in the microwave for like 30 seconds. You got nachos. They're sticky, they're delicious, but you can also put a lot of time and effort into them if you so choose. Now we get into the top 5. Now comes, I didn't realize this, but this is a lot of branding. We got a lot of sponsorships that could come out of this. Number 5, very specifically, Snyder's of Hanover's honey mustard onion pretzel pieces. Best freaking thing on earth. Delicious. The only downside is that once you eat like a whole bag of them, you don't feel so great. But they are a perfect snack, in my opinion. It leaves a nice dust on your fingers that you get to savor later. Number 5, Snyder's of Hanover. This one, you guys, there's no branding quite like being on the NerdBall Fantasy Football Podcast, Snyder's. So I'm just saying, you could sponsor us. We could be the NerdBall Fantasy Football Show, brought to you by Snyder's of Hanover's honey mustard and onion pretzel pieces. I think we'd all sign off on that. Judging by Clark's face, he would like to be paid in bags of Snyder's of Hanover's honey mustard and onion pretzel pieces.
This may be the end of our podcast. This list. This is how the one football fan at 538 felt when they were doing their quarterback list.
Damn it. Number 4.
If I'm making a plate, the honey mustard pretzels, it's good to have a couple on there. I'm not eating an entire bag of those, though.
That's why it's at 5. Because number 4, Lay's barbecue potato chips. You can eat an entire bag and feel a-okay. Clark is going to quit this podcast.
I mean, at least
times.
Those are good.
Thank
but
you.
Like chips, you know what's better than chips? Chips dipped in stuff. Chips and queso.
Or pretzels dipped in stuff.
No, there's pretzels can't be dipped in anything. I'll give you chips getting dipped in stuff. 4 barbecue potato chips dipped in barbecue sauce.
My brother in Christ, you must go to Costco and get the spinach and artichoke dip. And oh wait, no. Yeah,
so you can't even do that good.
It's like
you can't even remember.
Giant tub, and it's so good. It's got like a ranch zest to it.
Get out of here. Number 3, any form of taco. Anything in a taco is delicious and is perfect. My favorite thing about it is the fact that you can have like 5 tacos and come away from it still feeling amazing because they're all small little bites. And I can just eat tacos endlessly, and you can spice them up, change them up. And they're just, I don't know. Is there a better vehicle than a taco?
As a resident Texan, anything in a tortilla is both better and easier to make than silly white bread stuff.
Thank you. Are you back on the show, Clark? Can the podcast continue?
I mean, number 3, you're treading on thin ice, Pete. We got chips and queso and tacos number 1 for me, but at least they're in your top 5. Well, at least you didn't say like Hormel, make your own taco night kit.
God no.
Then that might have been like, all right, Pete.
No, the beauty of tacos, you can do whatever you want with them. All right. Well, Clark, you might quit the podcast yet again with my number 2. Number 2, Domino's thin crust pizza. You cannot tell me that the thin crust pizza is perfection. I have to give shout out to Domino's because I don't know what it was. It was like when I was in college. So that was like almost 10 years ago. They decided that they were going to like change everything, change the recipe, and like make good pizza. And you know what? They fucking did it. And good for you, Domino's. Domino's thin crust pizza is the best. You get a medium, and they used to have a deal where you can get 2 mediums for super cheap, but you just get 1 medium pizza, thin crust, and you enjoy football. I got a lot of nods from Clark. Clark's back.
Yeah, nothing's cheap anymore, but that is technically good. I remember this transition in Domino's history, and they went from making like bland, kind of crappy pizza to putting tons of fake butter and garlic flavoring into everything.
It's amazing.
Giving you ranch, and they nailed it. I mean,
spoiler alert. Put a lot of garlic and butter, and things are good.
They have this like, not toxic, obviously, but this radioactive Parmesan butter stuff that the pizza industry uses. And if you put that in your dough, it makes it fantastic. Like, I never read the ingredients because I liked the pizza place that I worked at, but it never got too hot. And
can you be radioactive and not toxic?
I think probably.
Okay. I just
It's
wanted
like
to clarify.
venomous and poisonous, probably. It's probably one of those things. I'm not
Sure,
sure.
sure. Is venomous deadly? Is that what the difference is?
Venom and my understanding is venom and poison work differently, and so they
Oh.
are categorized differently. But I'm not a herpetologist, so don't quote me on that.
My Twitter bio says I am a herpetologist, but I only study Alan Lazard's. So if he's not poisonous, then I can't help you.
Domino's is trash, guys. I'm sorry.
Oh, Jordan!
You're
I
right.
fucking
You're both
hate
right.
Domino's, man.
You're both right.
It's so bad.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it might be because it just reminds me of being hungover in college. Is like I associate it with that.
Sure. That's a fair assessment.
My recommendation, if you're just going to like a pizza chain or you're picking something up quick, I love and staying on the thin crust train here is I like Papa John's New York style thin crust pizza. It's really good. I don't know. I just don't like Domino's.
Papa John's official sponsor of the NFL now, aren't they? Didn't they beat out pizza because someone did out Pizza the Hut?
I thought it was like Little Caesars or something.
Oh, you might be right. It's Little Caesars. Pizza. Yeah. I have not had Little Caesars before.
Speaking of college, Little Caesars.
Speaking of college, Domino's was my college pizza. Number 1, the best snack for football watching. If I don't get a unanimous yes here, then we will shut down this podcast. The best snack to watch football with is beer. There is no better snack than beer to watch football with. You have a nice cold beverage, you sip on it, and you watch grown men smack the living shit out of each other. And you struggle between whether or not should you be watching this and enjoying it as much as you can while people are giving themselves mental illnesses. But it's also really fun and you really get rooted into it. And the drunker you get, the more involved you are in terms of your fandom. Number 1, to round out my top 10 game day snacks, my perfect list that is untouchable, unimpeachable, liquid courage. It's beer. This silence is deafening.
I like beer.
And
still like beer.
Podcast is ending. This is what I'm saying.
No, I mean, I feel like a lot of people can't really argue with that unless they're taking like some sort of semantic like argument that beer isn't a snack, it's a drink or something like that. But like there's a lot of variation, especially this time of year where you like I like getting a fall seasonal type of beer. There's this one by Dogfish Head. I haven't had it in a couple of years, but it's like a campfire like s'more style beer, and it's just great to have one like in the morning, kind of like so you don't feel too much like a degenerate just cracking open a Bud Light early in the morning. You're like, this has a little flavor to it.
This is a classy beer. Classy beers are okay early in the morning. That's a life lesson for all you kids out there. Crafty, classy beers, okay in the morning.
One of those, and then you shotgun the cheap beer in the fridge,
and then you start pounding beer.
Then you can go.
Just get the juices flowing.
Yeah, you mentioned the noon start time, Jordan. Moving to the West Coast was taking a new step forward in my degeneracy. So the games on the West Coast start at 10 a.m.
Yeah,
and so it's 9 o'clock. I'm not going into kickoff straight laced and bushy tailed. I mean, we got to get going. So, after your third or fourth high life and it's 10:15 and Scott Hansen's beautiful face is filling up your screen. Well, you just don't worry about degeneracy too much anymore.
The day is already started amazingly. I mean, you could drink while watching the sunrise from football. I mean, that's the dream right there.
Majestic.
I have to say, I'm actually very excited to be moving just one time zone over because Central Time. Having all the games just start an hour earlier, perfect.
Central Time is the best time.
It is the best time.
Take that, rest of the country.
Oh, sucks to suck. Top 10 time zones. Central Time, number 1. Mountain Time, 10. No one even... Why? Why do we exist, Mountain Time? All right, well, there you go. That's all we got for you this week. Make sure you rate and subscribe to the podcast on all your podcast platforms of choice. And be sure to follow us on Twitter at NerdBallFF. You can follow myself on Twitter at Peter M. Rogers. Follow Clark at NFL Clark and Jordan at Jordan_Smith27. Make sure you check out all the amazing content we're putting out over on the site at nerdballff.com. We've got everything you need to prep for week 1. We have rankings. We're going to have endless DFS content for people setting lineups. We're going to have starts and sits, all that good stuff to make sure that you are building a winning lineup to win your first week of the season. Until next week, my fellow nerds.
God, man, pretzels, like bagged pretzels, Pete. I used to think that I don't know what it means to be offended.
They're delicious.
But now they're okay. But you know what's better? A soft pretzel.
Yeah, but soft pretzel has to be like perfect, or not has to be perfect. I will say this. It's much harder. I've had a much more difficult time finding a good soft pretzel that can be delivered to you than a bag of pretzel that can be purchased. So
only at like movie theaters and ballparks
and Auntie Annie's at a mall.
Yeah.